Hey, you guys. I hope you're all safe and well, and that you're doing good. I'm back in Denmark, and I was asked by Dr. H to give a view of Denmark and the chapter about Denmark. So here it is. First of all, I want to start out with a few fun facts. Like, did you know about Denmark that Danish students actually receive $780 each month from the state while they study? Another fun fact is that Lego is actually Danish. I don't know if you were aware, but that's a huge brand all over the world. And another thing about us as Danes, we like to take credit for anything that any Dane did if it is noteworthy. We all feel proud of them because we feel like it gives credit to us as Danes as well, because we're such a small country. I feel like we're proud of all the smaller or bigger achievements that we make. Another thing is that Danes and Swedes often joke about actually hating each other, and to some extent there is a bit of truth about it. I think it goes back to the history where uh, the Danes invaded Sweden and they took their land back and all that history. But that's just something we kind of joke about today. I'm sure Americans have their own way of joking with people from, I don't know, other countries. Another fact, I don't know how fun that is, but I realize not everyone knows is that Denmark actually has a monarchy. It's pretty much the same as in the UK. We have a queen and, of course, her family, which is the royal family, and we in Denmark are very proud of them, and they're like people who gather us as Danes. So they're just figureheads, though. We have what the book says is a social democracy. So the queen is one that signs the final papers, but she makes no important decisions in that way. Another thing that the book mentions is that we're to some extent an individualistic society, but that it's more called the interdependent society, I guess, because we score very low in group collectivism, but high on societal, institutional collectivism. And that is very true. We as Danes are very aware of the fact that we pay high taxes so that everyone can take part in the welfare and the benefits we get from that. And we're proud of that. But this also means that we as a group are very aware that these benefits are for us. And if anyone tries to cheat, not pay taxes, try to get more money than they're um, owed, um, we will get very pissed. But we as Danes are also aware that we won't take more than what is our share. Yeah, another thing is also that we don't like people who brag. That is something I experienced in the US, that even the smallest hint of people saying they got an A on a paper, or um, the smallest things like that, or that they did well in an exam or something, for me that is bragging, because that's how I was raised. That's Danish culture, and it's very important in workplaces, in schools, stuff like that, that people don't brag, because we as Danes see it as people thinking that they're better than others. And I realized that that's not necessarily true, but that's just automatically how we perceive people. So that's, if you ever come to Denmark, don't go around bragging about the smallest things or how much money you have or stuff like that, because we will not like you because of it. And I'm sorry, but that is how it is. The book mentions that we in Denmark are actually very tolerant of immigrants and people with a different faith background in that way, such as Muslims and stuff, um, that we build and have space for them in our society. And to some extent, that is true. We have built mosques and places for Jews as well. But it is also important to point out that we are far from a perfect society, and one of the largest parties uh, present in the parliament, who has the a large share of the Danish votes, is actually a party who is very strict when it comes to their view on foreigners in Denmark. They do not specifically like them, and they want, if they had their way, for them to be 100% Danes before they even got here, such as to speak Danish, know all the Danish values, cultures. They don't want them to meld into Danish society, but just to be Danes from the start, which is impossible. But there are some people in society who vote for them. This is especially older generations, but also the uneducated part of the population in Denmark. They're scared of the fact that, especially I think the older generation, that these new foreigners will come and they will change what we see as Denmark, and they will change Danish values, and this scares them. For the more uneducated people, it has a lot to do with jobs. They fear that they will take their jobs, which is mostly blue collar jobs, that, to be honest, these people don't want anyway. But this is just something that is currently happening in Denmark, that we have become more and more hostile towards immigrants and foreigners. And I find this sad, but of course, there are also parties and a big part of the population that views this in a completely different way. Last of all, I wanted to talk about this concept called hygge, which the book also mentions, translated more or less as coziness, because the book mentions that we as Danes are actually quite happy. And I find that to be very true. I watched a movie where someone said she believed she was born happy because she was a Dane, and I actually agree with that statement. What it means to coziness, what that entails, is actually just sitting on the couch with the family on a Wednesday evening, eating cake and drinking a cup of coffee, while just talking about nothing and everything, while taking your time, doing it over 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. It's about taking the time to do what you please and what you enjoy. And most of all, it's about treating yourself. And if there is one thing I wanted to teach you guys in the US, though I love your country and everything about it, I feel like you guys are in such a hurry when you eat, when you go places, when you do stuff. And some may like that, and I find that that's great for them. But if you ever feel like time is just slipping you by, or you feel like shit, or it's just tough being alive, give yourself that time to just relax. Take the next 2 hours. And even though you have stuff to do, I'm sorry, Dr. H, but if you have homework to do, just relax, put it aside. See if you have time for it later, because right now it's time to just focus on you, make a bubble bath, put on some music, stuff like that. That's what we as Danes would do. But yeah, that's just, I guess, my, um, yeah, how I would do as a Dane. So thank you for listening, guys. Hope you're well and stay safe.